Welcome back, personal finance students. We are still in the credit unit here, and we are now going to take a look at our amortization schedule. And we talked about this a little bit ago. We talked about installment loans. And this is a situation where you're going to buy a vehicle, or you're going to buy a house, or you're going to buy some asset, and you are going to have a set schedule of payments going forward over the next 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 years, right? In theory, when you go to that finance company and you get that loan, they have the ability to print off the paperwork and say, here is every single payment. If you make every single payment for the exact amount of money that you owe, you can go ahead and own that asset after your 3-year, 4-year, 5 years worth of payments. Now, again, most of us are going to pay monthly payments. I don't know anybody that pays their mortgage on an annual basis, but most people will pay their house bill once a month. They'll pay their car bill once a month. They'll potentially pay their student loan once a month. We've gone through and we've looked at our spreadsheet. And again, we started out with some fictitious, $50,000 truck. We went in and negotiated the price down. We traded in an old vehicle, and we had a $5,000 down payment. So we were financing $38,000. But because we're purchasing something that's going to have sales tax in Minnesota, 6.5%. There's tax, title, license, and dealership fees. All added up, we're going to round up and say we have just short of $41,000 worth of somebody else's money we're going to borrow. That's the cost of acquiring this vehicle. At the current rate of 5%, here are what my monthly payments come out to be using my payment function. $1,200 if I want to borrow that $41,000 and make it paid back in 36 equal monthly payments, or all the way down to $578 if we pay it over 7 years or 84 payments. What does that schedule look like? Right now, we're probably going to want to look at some of these things prior to going to the car dealer, so we at least have a feel or a handle on what it's going to cost us and how much it's going to take to pay all this back, so we can create our own amortization schedule. We're going to have the number of payments. We're going to have the beginning loan amount. We'll have our interest only, because there's no guarantee that we're going to make every payment. So the finance company is going to charge us interest on the amount of loan we still owe them. We then go ahead and subtract the payment, and we'll have an ending loan amount at the end of that month, right? How much do we still owe after we've made that payment? So as we come back to our spreadsheet here, we go ahead and label it up. This is a 3-year amortization schedule, right? That's 36 monthly payments. So let's label payment number, beginning loan amount, interest only, payment, ending loan amount. If we start out and do our first one here, right, let's do this 36 month. So we're going to borrow just short of $41,000. We're going to make 36 payments of $1,225.66. The paperwork that I would get would show me, if I made all 36 payments, that I would have this loan completely paid off in 3 years. So I'm going to list out all 36 payments. Beginning loan amount is going to be this number right here. I can use just an equal sign and say pull that value. I borrowed that amount of money, that $40,895. I'm going to calculate my monthly interest. it's costing me 5% annually to borrow somebody else's money, but I'm making my car payment on a monthly basis. So I got to turn that 5% number into a monthly number. So I'm going to take 5% divided by 12. Because I'm going to fill, handle it, and use it multiple times in this schedule, I want to use my absolute cell reference. Reminder, that's putting a dollar sign before the letter and in between the letter and the number, so it always refers back to this particular cell. Turn that into money. And I'm going to multiply it by the $40,000 that I borrowed. And it's going to cost me $170 that first month to borrow that money. Now, the difference is I'm going to pay almost $1,200. And again, I always wanted to refer back to this cell, so I'm going to use that absolute cell reference and say that I'm borrowing and paying back on a monthly basis $1,200. Well, simple math says this borrowed amount, this amount of money is going to go down by about $1,000, right? I paid $1,200, they charged me $170. So my $40,000, $41,000 in borrowed, add the interest they're going to charge me, subtract out the payment. Does it make sense that my ending loan amount after the first month goes down by about $1,000? Well, I hope it does. What happens in the beginning of the second month? Well, the beginning of the second month is the ending value from the first month. Now, if I've got my formulas written and I'm using my absolute cell reference here to lock in my interest rate, when I drag this number down one, does it make sense that my interest only got smaller? I hope so, right? 5% annual interest divided by 12, but now it's multiplied by this new smaller number because I've already made one car payment. Does it make sense that my car payment stays the same? I hope so. I'm making 36 equal payments of this $1,200 number. Does it make sense that the amount I owe at the end of the month, again, got a little bit smaller by a little more than $1,000? Now, to be efficient with my time, once I've gotten my first two rows squared up, I can take that second row and fill handle it on down. And how will I know I'm right? When that number right there eventually becomes 0. Let's see what happens. Highlight just my second row because that's a formula. That's a formula saying what's the ending number from the month above, what's the new interest, same $1,200 payment, and a new balance. And sure enough, I paid off my full amount. And I could ask the question, after borrowing this money and buying this car 2 years down the road, how much do I still have left? Well, I can go look at my 24th payment and say, after making my 24th payment, I still owe $14,000. Maybe I have a bonus or something at the end of the year, and I can now pay off that debt. Well, how much do I owe if I want to pay off the car loan? Well, after 2 years, I owe $14,000. And I could look up any month I wanted to say, well, how much do I still owe to pay that off? What if I can't afford $1,200 a month for a car loan? Well, I'd say, well, what does it really cost? Well, I'll come back down here and add up my column of payments and say it cost me all of these numbers here. It cost me $44,000 to borrow this 41, or my cost of borrowing here. It's 5%. That's my cost of borrowing, but it ends up being $3,228. This is my interest column. If I make every single payment all 3 years long, I will pay $3,200 in interest to borrow this $41,000 and buy this vehicle. as we look at our next video, we're going to do some math and say, well, what if we cannot afford this $1,200? What if we want a 7-year car loan and stretch it out, because almost $600 a month is a little bit more affordable for us? When we come back, we'll take a look at that video.